Good morning and Pura Vida. Welcome to this week's Dharma Talk. We're glad you're here at beautiful Bali Rica on a very unusual rainy day because we normally don't have them on our talk days and on the internet. Miss Lisa Virtue is going to give us the opening meditation.
Thank you, Ruthie. Set the timer. All right, let's all close our eyes, find our breath, and we're going to begin with a relaxation to help us ease into the meditation. So start by noticing any obvious places of tension in your body and consciously release those. And then begin a systematic scan, starting from the top of your head, moving down through your head and noticing anywhere that you're feeling maybe more subtle tensions. And when you encounter them, you just invite them to soften. And as you come down through your face, and you get to your neck and your shoulders, you may find here that your tension could be related to your mind state, where you may have worries or concerns. And then unconsciously, you're holding tight there around those. And so for this time, in this moment, where we're choosing to be peaceful, you can invite the mind to release those. And you can invite the emotions to ease. While we're here, we're choosing to release our engagement with those. And continue your journey down the trunk of your body and your arms, softening as you go, allowing yourself to feel a little more heavy as you relax. Making your way down to your seat and into your legs, all the way down to the tips of your toes. And viewing your body as a whole, inviting the whole of it to relax. And as you're feeling more settled, you can turn your awareness to your breath without needing to do anything with it. Just being aware of the sensations of it moving in and out, the slowness of the breath. Allowing your breath to soothe you. And as you feel the peacefulness that comes from this relaxed state, from the breath, I invite you to move into the very center of that peacefulness, to dive deep into the center of that peace. And there you may find a stillness and calm. It may feel like an expanding joy. A loving awareness of all that's around, of all that is. And I will simply abide in this place of calm, still, loving, joyful awareness. This peace that you have found is part of your true nature. You can take this into your day-to-day because you will feel that anything informed from this place abides by all of those loving principles that we study, just naturally. And if you find yourself having strayed away from the peace, then take a moment to be soothed by your breath, and then go into the center of that peaceful feeling that you've cultivated, and begin again. And so instead of returning to some state we were in before meditation, we retain our peaceful calm and simply open our eyelids. May you enjoy your peace in the day. Namaste.
Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Lisa, very, very much. Today's talk is very challenging for me because it's about some very challenging topics. A few weeks ago, after Lama Dorje was here, and I began to consider the things we haven't talked about much in our Dharma talks, I found bookends that I have sort of ignored, or we have. One was the very beginning of Dharma studies, the Four Noble Truths and samsara, the wheel of life. The talk today is the final closing of that circle, and it's called Buddha Nature. I'm going to start. I had to think a lot about how to go about this. I don't know if you have listened to the Dalai Lama when he speaks, but he so often will say, he gets to the end of a point and then he will say, like that, like that. He brings you into consideration of what it's like because we really aren't working with a precise vocabulary. You have to sort of get into it and recognize it from various oblique angles. So I decided to start with some symbols, but also, even before we get to that, the symbol, of course, for samsara is the wheel of life, the never-ending cycle of birth, death, and rebirth. Today, we're going to talk about Buddha nature and enlightenment. I'm going to start with 3 existential questions that we all have. One is, who am I? Very essential question. It's interesting that our parents answer that for us right after we're born and immediately, so we know who we are. My name is so-and-so. My mommy's name is mommy. My daddy's name is daddy. I have 2 little sisters, and so on. I go to such and such a school. We live in such and such a town. Multiple descriptions of who you are. It's only later in life that we return to this question, and it becomes a really serious one for us. It is the essential question for the spiritual quest, for the spiritual journey, is to find out who we are. And also, the second question is, where did I come from? Here are your parents. You'll say, Mommy, where did I come from? And you'll say, the stork brought you. And you ask Daddy, and he says, well, you are a gift from God. And you say, okay. Now you're off on a tangling tale of confusion. And the third existential question is, where am I going? Where am I going to end up? What's this all about? Well, the Dharma has answers to all of these questions, and they're not always what you would expect. But the Buddha did not give us the answers to begin with. He made you start with samsara, with the Four Noble Truths. And he held all of these answers back because in order to get to them without making a real mess out of your head and your life, You have to answer two questions before you answer Buddha nature. One is no self, leaving your ego behind. The other is shunyata, emptiness, voidness. Now, if you're not ready for these, and it can take sometimes a lot of time, you can get a lot of bad directions. You can become nihilistic, you can believe nothing exists, that you don't exist, that the world. That's not true. That's not the way it is. But so today we're taking a leap because we're going to the end, the enlightened bookend. After studying the initial beginning of the circle, and they finally come full circle. And the best way to tell you the answers to this is to read from the Tibetan Book of the Dead, and we've done it before, but listen to it carefully now, because here you will find, in a very precise form, the question of who you really are. What is your essence? What is your true nature? And Jeff will have to read it for me. I know it by heart, but I'm afraid I'll mess it up all the time. Here it is, honey. Yeah. There's that. Take it slow. Listen carefully. This, by the way, is recited for some 40 some days for a person who is approaching death. All right? It's prayer for the dying or directions for the dying.
Remember the clear light, the pure, clear, white light from which everything in the universe comes, to which everything in the universe returns. The original nature of your own mind. The natural state of the universe unmanifest. Let go into the clear light, trust it, merge with it. It is your own true nature. It is home.
We are energy. We are energy. The energy of light. And this is our true nature. This is who we really are when you take off all the labels. When you find out that all the descriptions are not it. This is your essence. It is timeless. That was what?
Just speak up. The power's off.
Oh, it's timeless.
There you go. It's back on.
A bit of eternity there. There you go. Okay, it is who you truly are essentially. Your essence is pure, clear, white light. And energy cannot be destroyed. And it never was created that we know of. We don't know where the Big Bang was, or whatever you want to call it. But when everything else is stripped away, you will merge with that light. Okay? That light is egolessness. You in that light have no ego anymore. And that light is void of all the worldly things that you thought were you. You still are you. You do exist. That's for sure. but not the way you were taught you were, not the way you were led to believe about yourself. Okay? So that's number one. Number two, where did you come from? You came from an unborn, unmanifested energy field. And that field is the light. Now, you know that when people have near death experiences, particularly those who have left their bodies and are brought back, wherever they are in the world, whatever language they speak, they will speak of the white light. They will speak of going into the light. It seems that this is not just a lovely poetic hypothesis, that it is genuinely a manifestation of the energy which is us. Okay? So there's that part. Where are you going? You're going home. It is your own true nature, and it is headed for home. And there is a tremendous instinct in this world to go home. Animals exhibit it very strongly. People less so. We kind of carry our homes with us. But it's like, it's where the heart is. So the true nature, the essence of your being, is here for the purpose. Why are you here? For the purpose of going home. And you certainly should not be afraid of a trip home. If anything, it's probably the best trip you'll ever take. And it's exciting and it's emerging. So anyway, here are some of the symbols. Light and home. And the trip to those places. Dorothy's Yellow Brick Road. There's no place like home. There's no place like home. Now this puts everything in a different light. But as I say, you're going to have to come up to the void and the other, and we're not really going to go into those too deeply today. They're big topics. The Buddha did not say, we'll touch on this much, they did not say you do not exist. He said you are not who you think you are. And any genuine Dharma teacher, such as the Buddha or the Dalai Lama or some of the Roshis, will tell you it is very important for you to have a strong self. No self is simply the self that is left when you strip away all the corruption, the defilements, the suffering, and you get back to the true nature, to your own clear light. All right? That's what no self is. It's not that you don't have a self. It's that you have a purified self, if you want to put it that way, a cleansed self, which is sort of an analogy that we see in most religions, the idea of purification and cleansing. I was struck when Michael and Karen did their talk on vibrations at the similarity between the song that I think probably most of us know. We used to do it for many years. I did it at the end of yoga classes when I was still limber and doing yoga classes. And I don't sing, so I'm just going to give you the lyrics. But listen to it in relation to what Jeff just read. It's a little simple song, And it goes, may the long time sun shine upon you. All love surrounds you. And may the pure light within you guide your way home. That's another lovely little version of the same thing. You gotta get home. I gotta get home. Get it home. In all kinds of spiritual singing and poetry, there is the idea of going home. So when you start thinking about death, if you can start to realize that you're headed home, I think it will help. And I think it helps to know that you really are scientifically being supported in the idea, quote unquote, or concept of rebirth, because we are energy. Another thing with no self is that you really can't find yourself. No one ever has. We have no real idea what consciousness is. We just know we have it. We're all aware that we are aware. We all know that we have these things in our head that are telling us all these, filtering all of this information. We call it consciousness, and when we get knocked out, we say we're unconscious. But we don't know where consciousness is located. And if you picked yourself apart with tweezers and ended up with just a whole bunch of mess on the floor, you would not find yourself anywhere. The best way to describe that is, has everyone here seen a rainbow? We all seen rainbows, right? It exists. Rainbows are real. You see them. Your eyes are not lying. But they aren't there. There's nothing there. They are a matter of causes and conditions in the atmosphere that created this vision. But if you went to put it in your hands, there's nothing there. It'd be like grabbing fog or sunshine. It's not there. That's what emptiness is. The space surrounding us right now is absolutely loaded with information. It's loaded with things that we need to live, with our oxygen and carbon dioxide and all that. It takes our microwave. We have to turn off our phones or we'd be hearing them ring all around the room. All this stuff is in space. So I would like to go into a short way of understanding the whole Dharma in relation to Buddha nature. And it is the Tibetan mantra, Om Mani Padme Hum. Om Mani Padme Hum Om. But you can sing it, you can say it silently, you can walk to it. And by the way, if you do it in walking meditation, for some reason, you always start with the left foot. And don't ask me why, because I don't know. But I think we have, doesn't the waltz always start with the left foot? Anyway, so that's the way it is. So we can say it, we can sing it, we can, just breathe it. But here's what it means. The first syllable. Okay, in Tibetan, this translates as the 6-syllable mantra of great radiance. Radiance is light. And it is believed in centuries past that there were yogis, monks, and yogis and other spiritual people reciting this who actually became light beings, that they emanated light. We see that in Christianity in the halo. It's a consideration that's been around as long as there's been people. That this inner radiance can come out. I have commented a couple of times that when I saw Lama Dorche's, his head Lama, I don't know how those things work, but anyway, you know what I mean. There are all these different levels. Garchen Rinpoche. I had not intended to take empowerment, but I went to listen to him, and I was absolutely mesmerized by how radiant this man was. I can't describe it because I don't think I really saw light, but it was like waves of light coming from him. And I said, I want that. Gimme, gimme, gimme. I want to be part of that. So I think sometimes even if we don't see light in people, we feel light in people. We know what it feels like. But let's take the syllables apart. Om, O-M, also has 3 letters, A-U-M, Om, and they're said a little differently. Om can be done quickly. Om, Om, Om. The vibratory one, if you work with it, go home and play with it. You can feel it in your lips, in your mouth. This is considered the sound of creation. This is the vibration that this sets up within you, and it's supposed to come from the tummy all the way up. If you repeat it and repeat it, you are entering into the vibration of light, of radiance, of luminosity. And it is really interesting. This was many, many centuries ago that this was said. It's an ancient, ancient teaching. And when NASA went into space, just about 60 years ago, they put out microphones in space to see what space sounded like. And guess what it sounded like? So there you are. Somebody knew something. These old guys, way back then. So Om is the sound of creation. It's the sound of space. It's the sound of the void, the emptiness of everything. Money, not money, not mommy, money. By the way, you can say these with your own, whatever your own accent is. Yeah. I have a tendency to say money. Other people say money or many. But the word means jewel, gem. Tibetan Dushan is called the diamond mind. And the Buddha always used references to the radiance of cut jewels, the prism that strikes light. Okay? And the jewel has this ability to be full of light and to shoot it in all directions, indiscriminately, everywhere. But when you take the diamond from the ground, and really any of these stones, they are not clean. They're dirty. I think diamonds are covered almost with a black color, aren't they? Something like that. But you have to really polish them. So the Dharma is a gem that must be polished for the light to shine. Okay. Padme. Padme is the lotus. The lotus is the most beautiful flower, and it grows only in water, and it grows only in dark, still, muddy water. It is rooted, it does not come from seed, it is rooted in muck at the bottom of ponds. It can be in a sunny place, they can be in sunny places, but they don't grow in still, clear, beautiful water. They grow out of muck, out of darkness. And their instinct is to go to the light. So when that little root begins, it instinctively is reaching for the light. And they can go up as high as 8 feet or so. And they will keep going till they get to the light. And the minute they break the surface and hit the light, they bloom. They bloom. And they make this beautiful, beautiful flower. So now the gem is considered compassion. And the lotus is considered wisdom. The radiant light that shines out is love. The lotus is the achievement of wisdom. And the whole mantra ends with either H-U-M or H-O-N, and that with a silent G. And that represents the union of compassion with wisdom. And the teaching is that wisdom without compassion is corrupted. Knowledge without love and compassion is not fulfilled. It's not wise. It's just knowledge. Okay? And of course, it can be converted to power or whatever you want it to do. If you have the brains to cheat people, that's not wisdom. Wisdom is the combination of knowledge of self with compassion for all beings, with a continuous elevated reaching for the light, the radiance of compassion. So Om Mani Padme Hum is basically Buddha nature. A couple of things about Buddha nature is that it is our birthright. Every sentient being, according to the Buddha, every sentient being, every being that has consciousness is born with Buddha nature. It is not restricted, it is not doled out, it is not given as a reward or withheld as a punishment. Buddha nature is pure potential. It's potential. And it is all together available to everyone. It's available to the old, the young, the wise, the stupid, the axe murderer, and the saint. They all have the same potential. But no one is going to do it for you. We come with the questions built in. And then as we decide, for some people, they're satisfied with the stork brought them. Other people are like, I think it's a little more than that somehow, I think we need to dig a little deeper here. And those people have started on the quest. And I know that Mark is here somewhere. Mark, hi, Annie. Mark is here, and he specializes in what are known as vision quests. Retreats are also vision quests of different kinds sometimes. And these are places where we go to be able to further ourselves on our spiritual journey. Something important about your spiritual awakening, which is what this is called, awakening, is that you are not ever going to find the answer to your quest outside of yourself. To go on, I guess Mark would agree with this, to go on a vision quest or a retreat or one, that's not giving it to you. That's merely providing an environment in which it can keep going like the lotus towards the light. It's where you go to frame what you are trying to do, which is to wake up, to realize your own true nature. And when you do that, remember what he said? Trust in it. Finally, in this world of things that are not what they seem, that are not trustworthy, finally there is something you can truly trust, and it is your own true nature. Now, I kind of like to stop there. We can talk more about emptiness. Again, I will say as later topics, we will take on no self. All the beginning teachings, which can take you many lifetimes in Buddhism, is the understanding of your own mind. Your own heart, of course, is included. That is at a conventional level. That's at a relative level. When you move beyond self, you are moving into an absolute level. You begin to shed your ego. And again, a poem that we read many, many times here, and it's in here somewhere, honey, is the Rumi poem. Yeah. And every time we use it as an illustration for something, it will tell you something a little bit relevant in a different way. And in this one, it's going to tell you this is where silence is. Lisa just gave a talk, gave a meditation, and she talked about silence and stillness. The question now is, once you get past ego, I'm going to go one more thing and then I'll be quiet and read that. How do you access your true nature? Again, you can only access it from inside. No one outside can give it to you. This is where the Buddha says, I am pointing at the moon. My finger is pointing at the moon. It's not the moon. It's all experiential. And you have to work for it in some respects. But that's where it's headed. And if you really want to meditate, this is why we meditate, is to go inside. The gap. The Jeff had a wonderful talk on the gap, which is one of my favorite topics. The gap stops the noise inside your head and gives a little space. And if you just keep focusing on the space rather than all the noise in your head, it makes it possible for these other things that are trying to come up from the muck, it to come up. All right? And silence is so important. If you can listen to the silence instead of the voices inside your head, if you can change your focus from what you hear and what you see and go inside, then things can happen. This, you're creating the nurturing environment. But back to Rumi. Just about everything you need is in little simple things, like a song, a poem, what have you. You don't need postgraduate degrees to find out the stork didn't bring you. And that's not where you're going. You're not, your parents, again, one more, keep going back. Parents, again, they're going to tell you not only who you are, and they're going to tell you, why you're here is to be successful. And that success is determined by relative standards. It's by how much money you make, by how beautiful you look, etc., etc. So we get all this misinformation. And then sometimes it's just something that happens to you that says, this is all sort of BS. There's more here. Anyway, now back to Rumi, and particularly the lines about silence. So we're going to meet in the empty space. Here you go. Okay. Listen again carefully.
I love this poem.
I love everything in this poem.
Yep. Out beyond ideas of wrongdoing and right doing, there is a field. I'll meet you there. Where the soul lies down in that grass, the world is too full to talk about. Ideas, language, even the phrase each other doesn't make any sense. The breeze at dawn has secrets to tell you. Don't go back to sleep. You must ask for what you really want. Don't go back to sleep. People are going back and forth across the door sill where the two worlds touch. The door is round and open. Don't go back to sleep.
And now, if you would, read again the Tibetan.
Okay.
And listen to it again, perhaps with a little more sense, I hope. Put it together.
Remember the clear light, the pure, clear white light from which everything in the universe comes, to which everything in the universe returns. The original nature of your own mind. The natural state of the universe unmanifest. Let go into the clear light. Trust it. Merge with it. It is your own true nature. It is home.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Next week we're going to talk about the practical aspects of death and dying. We've talked a lot about development and growing, and I'd like to just now end it for my part of the talk and turn it over to the floor. There is a book that will explain, we didn't talk much about emptiness, but to give you an idea of emptiness. In mathematics, you have the sum 0. There's a wonderful book that I couldn't understand called The Nothing That Is. The nothing that is this emptiness we're talking about. And in this case, the nothingness that is the number 0. That's a nothing number, but everything goes from it. And the line that begins the book, or somewhere close to it, that's stuck in my head, was, if you look directly at the number 0, you see nothing. But if you look through the number 0, you will see everything. And that's the basis of emptiness. Now, Jeff, please take over, and let's hear from some of you guys. I've talked enough now.
Questions, comments. Sharon's up first.
Come on, Sharon. Speak up so you can be heard, honey.
Ruthie,
What?
thank you.
Yes,
I want to say this
I
is one of
love
my
this talk.
favorite
Oh my
talks.
god.
Oh, good.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Thank you.
Definitely.
Thank
I
you.
thought the same thing. It's
Beautiful.
amazing.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh my god.
Who's that?
That's Sharon.
No.
Oh.
I'm Morgan. I'm just saying thank you.
Oh, okay, Morgan. I don't know you. See, I don't see, so I see you're long and tall and probably very good looking.
Thank you so much. Long and tall. All right, I'll take that. Thank you.
Yeah, there you go.
Sharon, did you want to? You just wanted
Go
to say
ahead,
that?
Sharon.
That's it.
I-
That's all
it
she
was
wanted.
beautiful.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
I'm glad you
Yeah.
enjoyed it because I think it's so important with all the confusion we go through. And this was a good time to bring it up. No, there's never a bad time. I hope it did work well.
Mark has something here.
Mark, yeah, please, Mark, talk to us a little bit about
the
vision
number
quest.
0
Yeah,
comes from India. India,
right.
yeah, it didn't exist in mathematics anywhere else. It was India
Yep.
that developed it, and then we embraced it. So you're talking about the 0, but you're also talking about money, but it's that complete circle again. You wound it all together. And
Cycle.
just a quick reference in Hindi, in Sanskrit too, A is pronounced U.
Yeah.
So
Om.
Om.
She got a question for you about if you wanted to add anything about Vision Quest.
Yeah.
Is there anything
Oh.
that you want to add about how that fits in with what? With
Totally.
How can people do this for themselves? Where do they go? Who do they see besides you and you?
Yeah, one of the things that we strip away by being just alone with yourself, with nothing but your own thoughts, is the illusion of the self. You know, initially you're agitated, you want to do things, your mind is like, I need to do this, need to do that, but you know there's nowhere to go and there's nothing to do except to be exactly where you are. And this terrifies people. I've seen people have some really difficult sessions, at which point it's like, well, just come out. Don't stay there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you're doing yourself harm, like meditation. But, you know, you and I have talked about this. Some people aren't meant to meditate.
Mm-hmm.
They're just not ready for it yet. But when you are ready for it and you go into it, what you reveal to yourself, about the way that you think, the way that you feel, and the way that you sense the world around you, is phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
You talk about I'm with Sharon. I love today's talk.
Oh, good.
But we talk about that universal or interconnected consciousness, or that primal light, or the primal tone. The more you can connect with that, which is what happens in Vision Quest, but the more you can connect with that, the more everything makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to move very carefully out in the world after it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you have to be very careful going into it because it's so easy to hit byways and that are taking you to the wrong places. Did I see an arm over there?
Again, I think all of us were just listening to every word you had to give me.
Oh, good. That makes me feel so good.
Wonderful, and I know, holy smokes. Yay! Anyway, my thoughts are when you talk about the light. I felt, maybe you can help me with it, that our experiences when we go back to like we take those. I think that the light is all of us.
Now you're talking about
We're
karma.
one big one,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
And so every time we go back, we take all of our knowledge that we learned for the good back to the light, which makes God grow bigger. And then I think that this is a topic I like to hear about sometimes evil.
Mm-hmm.
I always thought that just dismiss evil, don't think about evil doesn't exist, but it probably does.
Oh, it does.
And so I think maybe the bad thing, possibly, and I don't know this because I haven't thought much about it, but maybe the back and it goes to the door. And then the other one little piece that I was thinking about with your talk today was you talk about the self, the original self going back to the light and need to come back out for more information for God in reincarnation.
Mhm.
It's that same self that keeps coming back. And where does that very first self come from?
That there's no beginning,
Yeah.
there's
No
no
Right,
ending,
right.
and there's no coming and no going.
That's the zero.
It's a
But
mystery.
one of
It's a
the-
mystery.
It is a
We
mystery.
bow to the
We bow
mysteries.
to the mystery. One of the things that's really important in talking about this point of getting to these topics, which the Buddha, in fact, some of this was kept quite secret in the tantric versions. They kept this information because they didn't think most people could handle it because of ego, because of self. But we live in a dualistic world. And that's what you were talking about a moment ago. That the world is, we see two sides to everything. There's good and there's evil. And just like the rainbow, though, it's illusory because everything is one. Okay? So you think that and you do choose the good. You do set aside the evil. But when you finally break through, you're free of both of them in essence.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
That's something to think about, right?
That's why you don't get into some of this, because it actually will take you down some rabbit holes. It will take you into quantum physics.
Isn't that what the Rumi poem starts with?
Uh-huh. We're going to go beyond it.
That one. Read the beginning of that.
Out beyond ideas of wrongdoing and right doing is a field. I'll meet you there.
We go, that's where we're headed.
So
That's
good, evil, that's right, that's
There-
wrong.
there's a field that's different than that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where there's no you or I.
Mm-hmm.
It all merges.
I love that.
Mm-hmm. It's awesome, and I know from having done this topic last week in my way of understanding it, the whole I gets lost in all this. Everything about Buddha nature is about the universe, is about the whole, being part of the whole, and so that's part of enlightenment, where you start to lose these dualistic ideas. It's in counseling they call this reframing. You put a whole different frame around the same human picture. Yeah. Sandy.
Okay, what I found amazing about this, this was one of I would say my favorite talk of all time.
Good.
Of yours for sure.
I hope it filmed and we did a little.
We're
I want to hear it myself.
This gets 5 stars on the rating.
Okay.
Yeah. I think part of it is just the timing. I'm actually reading the Tibetan book, not of the Tibetan Book of the Dead, but the Tibetan Book of Living and Dying.
Oh, okay.
This is exactly what I'm immersed in right now. I've been wanting to talk about death.
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't understand death, I always want to talk about death. I've been talking about this for ages. I don't think you can understand that until you come to some terms with death, of death, your death. We're going to go back, we're going to return. And anyway, this book is helping me so much.
Well, it's a great book. He turned out to be a bad man.
But this is, he did?
Yeah, he did. Oh,
Are you
yeah.
talking about the Tibetan
Oh,
Book
he
of Living and
destroyed.
Dying?
He destroyed.
Or the dead?
Sanjo Rinpoche.
Okay.
He got into a lot of the tantric stuff and became a guru, and then he began to violate that. But it's a fabulous book, and I learned something very interesting from that book. Can I take a digression for a minute? Are we turned off?
No, we're not turned off yet.
Okay, well,
But why don't you take a digression when we turn off?
yeah, we can do that. We can do something about that book that I found personally very, very interesting.
Okay.
Anybody else comments? Otherwise, we'll do loving kindness. Actually, Ruthie, I concur with everyone. That was a beautiful talk. Thank you.
I'm glad. Thank you.
Yeah, really.
It's a very difficult subject.
It is. It's very challenging.
Should we do loving kindness?
All right. And here this brings us to another point in this business of finding our own true nature and pursuing the path. The loving kindness meditation that we do is an exercise for reaching no self. It's an exercise for going beyond yourself and for encompassing everything. Because in emptiness, in no self, in Buddha nature, all things are, you might say, equal. You don't just talk about loving everybody, you really do love everybody. But that doesn't come very naturally when you are born into a world where you are told to love your family and don't talk to the neighbors. You know, that kind of thing. So anyway, the hate is gone. So everybody relax. There's an end statement to a song my daughter just sent me in the last. It's called No Hard Feelings, the song is. It's worth listening to. And the last line is, I have no enemies. Well, I have no enemies. No hard feelings, all the things we go through. When you get to the end, there are no hard feelings, and I have no enemies. So, anyway, back to loving kindness. Anybody need to stretch? Do it now. Settle in. To yourself. May I be well. May no harm come to me. May I live with ease, calm, and peaceful. May I be happy. The one you love closely. May you be well. May no harm come to you. May you live with ease, calm and peaceful. May you be happy. To our neutral person, may you be well. May no harm come to you. May you live with ease, calm and peaceful. May you be happy. To your person in conflict, may you be well. May no harm come to you. May you live with ease, calm and peaceful. May you be happy. To all beings everywhere, on this plane and all other planes, may you be well. To all beings everywhere, may you be safe. To all beings everywhere, may you be free from suffering. To all beings everywhere, may you be happy. May the long-time sun shine upon you. All love surround you. And may the pure light within you guide your way home.